Hi, everyone. I'm Chef Adrianne Calvo, and welcome back to the Chef AF podcast, part of Foodable Podcast Network. Today, we're exploring the food festival circuit and why sometimes smaller events are even better for chefs. Joining me is Dean Max, the chef and president of DJM Restaurants. Hi, Dean. It's great to have you on the show.
Oh, it's great to be here. Thank you.
Dean, would you please give us a little bit of background on yourself?
Okay. I've probably been a chef in South Florida for the last 15 years. My flagship 30-30ish that I opened in 99 was my big feature seafood restaurant in the area. And then from there, I kind of grew to grow other restaurants. I have restaurants down in the Cayman Islands. 5 of them down there. I have a restaurant in the Bahamas and Pig Sands. I'm also in Texas, Dallas, and then I'm also in Southern California. So now I'm up to 11 restaurants, a lot of different style brands. They're all basically farm-to-table concepts, but I've got fast casual and full-service restaurants. So it keeps me busy. The newest restaurant is Even Keel Fish and Oyster, and that's located in Fort Lauderdale.
Wow, impressive. How do you okay, so I'm a chef myself. I have a couple of restaurants and it almost seems too much. How do you even time management? How do you handle 11?
Well, it definitely takes a lot of work and a lot of great people. So the thing that I did was out of 30-30, I really manicured a lot of great chefs coming out of that kitchen because I was in there and developing people. And from there, I had a lot of great people that worked under me that kind of grew up. And what you realize when you're running a kitchen is if you're really mentoring people, the good people are moving up, they're going to need something, otherwise they leave. So a lot of times when people are ready to leave, I would open up another restaurant and move them to that restaurant. So like in my Even Keel restaurant in Fort Lauderdale, my co-owners, Brad Phillips and Dave McLennan, those two guys started with me at 30-30 when they were 21 years old, and that was almost 20 years ago. And they've been working for me. And they opened up a restaurant for me in Columbus, in the Caymans, in Dallas, in California. So they were getting to the point too, after working with me even as chefs for a long period of time, that they were ready kind of for their own thing. So that's why we opened Even Keel and made them partners with me in that. And so it's always about growing people and then kind of maybe creating something for them. But now for me right now, it's about mentoring chefs and like looking at what they're doing at a given property and saying, okay, how can we do it better? How can we mentor better? How can we, create better profit? Most of them have really good culinary skills. So that's the good part from me. On the manager side, it's the same thing as well. It's just about leading people. And so right now I spend a lot of time really mentoring that level, mentoring the chef and the restaurant manager. We get to share a lot of great things too. When you look at, we share how we do business. So if there's like some type of cool events that we're doing at one restaurant that really clicked with the customers and drew in a lot of people, we use that at a lot of the other restaurants too. So we feed off of each other.
Wow. That's so wonderful that you're even focused on others and the growth. That's super beneficial for the culinary industry, that sometimes it seems as progressive as we think we are. There's so many terrible restaurants out there, and it's really hard to go out and get a decent plate of food. And it's because there aren't as many chefs like you out there that are willing to invest the time, and they're investing in people, and that really assures that there's going to be longevity in the great culinary scene. So thanks for what you do. That's so awesome.
No, it's fun for sure. I love it.
Speaking of events, what's new and different this year about the Palm Beach Food and Wine Festival?
Well, the Palm Beach Food and Wine Festival, I've been doing this since the start, and it's just such a great boutique-y festival that has just a really good quality level of chefs. And what's interesting too is as they've built the chefs over the years, they still kind of have a lot of the chefs that came originally, unless they had to drop out for whatever reason. If they if they couldn't make it for whatever given reason. But a lot of chefs seem to make it to this. So the cool part is it's every year the chefs that have done it before come back. They're reconnecting with each other, and it creates a really cool synergy that I think the guests that are coming can feel that they're having a lot of fun together. They want to see what each other does. They're kind of toying with each other. The cool thing about these small festivals too is the connection. The chefs are there. They it feels comfortable to them. So they're interacting with the guests a lot more, versus some of the really big festivals. And I don't want to name them because I don't want to,
Yeah.
I really hate to like trash any festival, but some of the festivals are so big that the chefs kind of come in, they do their thing and then they get out. Where this type of a festival, the chef really comes, he's hanging on the beach. And, it's something where if a guest comes for 4 days, stays at one of the hotels on the beach down there that's hosting this, and they're going to connect, they're going to be able to meet some of their favorite chefs. So if they're looking at that roster of chefs and they love those particular restaurants, they're probably going to be able to sit on a beach chair next to them and say hello and play. Maybe, we used to do like all kinds of really wild events like the Chef's Beach Volleyball and those kind of things. So there's a lot of, fun new things. I'm actually doing one of the favorite old things for me they've always had is on Saturday, is the chillin' and grillin'. It's always kind of been around the pool on Saturday afternoon. And it's such a great event. We're talking about a really great level of chefs that are there. Guys like, Charles Fan and Jonathan Sawyer, Mike Lotta and Richard Blaze, all these, and to name a few. And it's, to get all of this kind of talent out there around a pool, making some seriously casual but really funky and fun food. It's a great day. It really is. I was just cooking with Charles and Jonathan out in Hawaii Food and Wine last week, and as we do a lot of chefs, we do a lot of different festivals around. They all differ in a lot of ways, but I tell you what, between Hawaii Food and Wine, Palm Beach Food and Wine, and the Cayman Food and Wine Festival that I do, those are my three favorite by far, just because they're so small and boutique-y and really allow the chefs to interact more with the guests.
They sound like a blast. What are you looking forward to the most this year?
Well, like I said, I always look forward to kind of reconnecting with some of the chefs that I haven't seen since last year's event. We do, all of the Thursday night events are really fun. I've done them at all the different hosting spots. So, like PB Ketch always hosts one of those dinners, and I've done dinners there a couple times. The same with Buchan hosts their dinner on Thursday night too. I've been there for that event. Avocado Grill will be at this year. Avocado Grill, Julian's a great buddy of mine, and he's got, both locations. We're going to be doing one over at the Palm Beach Gardens location, the Caribbean Night. And I think that'll have a play of a lot of, different seafood, even though, Julian begged me to do the dessert because none of the other chefs, we never want to do dessert, but, and he didn't have a specific dessert chef set out for this. And so I'm like, yeah, I'll do it for sure, because they always put me on the fish dish because, I have a seafood cookbook and I've got a bunch of seafood restaurants, but I figured, what, let me do dessert this time. So I've got a really cool, very tropical dessert based around Florida citrus that I'm going to be doing, and local passion fruit. So should be a lot of fun. Cooking with Jonathan Sawyer and Mike Lotter, who two really good buddies of mine, as well as Julian. Mike's out of Charleston. He runs two great restaurants. His actually seafood restaurant, The Optimist, I picked a lot of kind of subtle nuances of what he does there for our Even Keel project, which is the same thing. It's a kind of a really modern kind of oyster house, and nobody does them better than people from Charleston do these great oyster and fish houses.
Absolutely.
And then Jonathan's a super creative, chef out of Cleveland. I used to have a restaurant in Cleveland for about 12 years, and that's where actually Dave was up in that area in Columbus in Cleveland area, and so I had a restaurant in the same city as Jonathan for a while, and he does just such good stuff, and he's such a fun and crazy guy. I love him, and so we it'll be a great it'll be a great night for camaraderie. Talking about, three other chefs, it was myself with a lot of personality, and we'll all be goofing around, having a great time. So anybody coming to that event's for sure going to have a blast.
And that's the One Caribbean Night event?
That is.
Okay. So if you buy a ticket to One Caribbean Night, take us on kind of like a step-by-step, what can our listeners expect from that event?
Well, normally we open up with cocktails in the beginning, and then we're going to do a 5-course sit-down dinner.
5 courses. Okay. Wow.
Yeah, so it's a course dinner. So
Okay.
each one of us doing courses. It's going to focus. Sorry about that. It's going to focus on really like kind of great, fresh, creative seafood dishes. So you're gonna see some really great stuff. Like I said, Mike Lott has got a great seafood restaurant, one of my favorite in Charleston, and so he's gonna be I'm sure pulling out some of his best dishes from that restaurant, focusing on probably seafood based out of his area there. And he'll have some really creative things, and Jonathan does as well. And Julian, based out of Palm Beach there, with his 2 Avocado Grill restaurants, he does a really great job too. And he'll probably be hitting a lot of Florida seafood with a Caribbean flair.
Well, and you had also mentioned earlier about the Chillin' and Grillin' event. So tell us a little bit more in detail from start to finish. What can our listeners expect if they go to this event?
Well, this event, the Grillin' and Chillin's a really cool event because it's super casual. It's a more of a daytime, really like around the pool. It's usually based stations, so it's not a sit down. They'll have stations with wine and beer and drinks, cocktails around the pool, and so each one of the chefs will have a tent. So we'll each be doing one item. So I'm going to be doing grilled octopus tacos. So that should be a lot of fun. And I know these other chefs are going to be doing some really creative bites. So you kind of cruise around, you grab that chef's bite, they'll have high top tables, and and there'll be some seating, but it's much more casual event. So it's great. Everybody's kind of in comfortable clothes and around the pool. It's sunny out, and having cocktails and eating great food. It's a perfect day for sure.
Yeah, sounds like a great time. So tell me a little bit about your cookbook, A Life by the Sea.
So Life by the Sea was a cookbook I wrote in quite a few years ago about seafood. I'd run a lot of seafood restaurants both in California and in the East Coast, and specialized a lot in seafood. And I grew up in Stewart, fishing and diving. I surf, and so I'm a very water-oriented guy. And one of the big things for me, the big questions that people ask me all the time was, how to cook seafood, and their fear of seafood. People have this fear of it. And I really wanted to kind of demystify how to cook seafood. People take it too serious, and they're really kind of nervous about it. They think they have to do really crazy things. And it's really about buying, ultra great product and keeping it simple. One of the things that I did do that was a little bit different was I categorized all the recipes from start to finish and what I call like lean to kind of more diverse texture. So you start with fish that are very lean, not a lot of fat, very soft, things like Dover sole and flounder and halibut and things like that are softer and not as fatty. And then you go all the way through things that have more texture, like octopus and lobster, things that have a chew
More intimidating.
and intimidating, right?
Yeah,
and then you have things that are really oily, like you have like black cod, and you have salmon, and you have sea bass, and things like that have a lot of oil content to it. So the important part for people to know about those things is that every time you cook anything and you put a dish together, it's all about balance. So if you're cooking a really oily fish, using methods like the grill work better because, they're going to draw a lot of oil out of the fish. And so fish will dry out more on a grill. So that grilling lends better to fish that are very oily, right? Where a lot of times if you have a very lean fish that doesn't have a lot of fat, and you want to add moisture to that, you would cook that in a way like poaching, or you'd cook it and saute it with butter and those kind of things to add moisture to that. So it's really about thinking about what type of fish it is, and it lends better to that, as well as the sauces. Like when you're cooking a salmon is pretty oily unless you're using wild salmon. Wild salmon can be leaner because it's swimming a lot more than the farm is, and so but if you have a really fatty fish, right, and you cook that in like a buttery sauce, like saute and you cook it in a buttery sauce, then you serve it with like really creamy grits, and then you serve it with a really creamy vegetable, and you put cheese on it, right? So you've got all this. It's too much fat, right? So it's fat,
Right.
fat. There's no break from it. So it's all about balance. So whenever you have something fatty, you want to cook something acidic, and pair maybe a really cool, a really cool like roasted cherry tomato, chimichurri with like a grilled piece of salmon instead. So you have acidity matching with fattiness, and it gives you that break. So that's where we really kind of dove into that, to try to help people understand how to balance what they're serving with seafood and keeping it simple. It's all about simplicity and great quality of product.
Wow, I mean, your passion for what you do, really, it's bursting here. I mean, your description of the salmon and the fat and the citrus, I mean, that's, I think a lot of chefs, when you ask them about a recipe or give me an idea, or a lot of people are just kind of going through the motion of cooking, but there has to be that certain passion, the way you just describe, the fattiness of fish and all this stuff from your cookbook. I think it's one of the key ingredients in culinary arts in general. It is passion.
It is, for sure. Great chefs have to be passionate.
Absolutely. So what are some of the other recent projects that you're focusing on these days?
Well, I just recently in South Florida opened up a fast casual poke concept called Blue Ocean Poke. We have it in Deerfield Beach, Florida, was our first location. And so that's more of a kind of a fast casual concept. What I wanted to do is kind of like, poke is really popular in California. Near my other restaurant, I go to a lot of poke restaurants there. I mean, there's like at least 4 or 5 within every couple miles, right? But in South Florida, it's not as big, and it's such healthy eating. There's these great rice bowls with fresh fish and raw vegetables, and so it's super healthy. And it's a great meal source for like lunch or light dinner, and so we'll see the popularity of it grow. It just takes time. So that's one of my new ones. But the only difference is we really wanted to do it. We really wanted to do it great. And so even when it comes down to the rice for me was an important part. And so I reached out to one of my best friends, Makoto, who has Makoto's. He has one. Yeah, he has one in North Miami. He has them in Mexico City. He has 4 locations, but he's a good buddy of mine, and I begged him to share his Japanese rice recipe with me, and he did. He worked on that with me, and it just made for such an amazing base for our poke here at Blue Ocean Poke. So was super excited, to do that. And then, with that, Even Keel being my latest, which is, it's a big operation, 6,000 square feet. So it's 160 foot or 160 seat restaurant with bar in Fort Lauderdale. We're in between Oakland Park and Commercial on Federal Highway. Great spot with really kind of fresh seafood, big raw bar. So we do a lot of oysters, stone crab, fish dip, poke there as well, ceviches, and then we run into a lot of fun things. I didn't want to do it upscale like 30-30, fine dining style. I really wanted to have kind of that kind of Charleston kind of seafood house with raw bar, which is super casual. So you can just go in and get a beer and a lobster roll if you wanted to, or you could sit down and have a more kind of designed fish dish or scallop dish, or you can go in there and get a white clam pizza, out of our pizza oven. So
sounds delicious.
Yeah, really fun stuff. So I definitely highly suggest people come in and check that one out.
Awesome. Well, thanks for hanging with me, Chef.
My pleasure. My pleasure.
Yeah.
You got to come to the festival. It's going to be Palm Beach Food and Wine is going to be a blast. I definitely, would encourage people to come check it out. Anybody living in South Florida, it's a great getaway, even locally. Pop up there, both the OO or the Four Seasons or any of those hotels are all, great venues to stay and base out of, and it's just it's a lot of fun. And then if you miss that, you got to come down to Cayman Cookout in January in the Cayman Islands. So that's another rough trip. So.
Oh my gosh, that sounds like fun. I definitely have to come check you out.
Yes, you definitely need to do that.
Yeah. Thanks for listening in today. Make sure to subscribe to your favorite podcast app and leave a review on iTunes. We love your feedback. If you have an idea for a show topic or guest you would like to see here on Chef AF, make sure to send it to producer@foodabletv.com. Also, if you like the show, you'll love some of our other podcasts. Just search Foodable Network on iTunes to get access to all the amazing culinary content.